had no mentor. I never worked for someone. I was never an assistant. I'm just hustling the same way I hustled 40 years ago.
Everybody knows you by the fact that you managed Halle Berry.
She popped. She just popped.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
You didn't travel far, but the weather is crazy, huh?
It's monsoon season. I mean, I've been in LA 30 years. I've never seen it like this.
Nothing, never,
Crazy.
right? It's like this atmospheric rivers
It's every
single week, huh?
But actually, it slowed down. So when I came out, it was like drizzling. It was kind of like weird.
But there are like puddles everywhere. It's
All
crazy,
over,
huh?
yeah.
When did you move to LA?
I believe I was here for the earthquake in Northridge. Was that 93 or 94?
The big one, right?
Yeah,
that
the
big
Northridge one.
Yeah.
That was scary.
So that's like some 30 odd years?
Yeah, 30 years, right? It's,
Yeah.
90, yeah. 90.
Where are you from originally?
From New York, Brooklyn.
Nice. I mean, obviously we'll talk about your career and everything, but before you made history with Halle Berry, I'm sure, there were a lot of things that you've done prior, and like the whole you getting into the talent management. Can you talk a little bit about your earlier life? Like, what were you doing in Brooklyn?
I just, in Brooklyn, grew up in Brooklyn. It was a great time in the 50s and the 60s. I went to a high school, which was in Manhattan, so every day I had to take a bus and 2 trains to get to high school. That was to keep me away from
A bus and 2 trains?
the bus and 2 trains.
How long did it take you?
An hour or so. And in those days, you would take a train in Brooklyn, it would say to the city. They called Manhattan to the city. That's where you were going. And I had to take a train to the west side and then had to take a shuttle over to the east side because my high school was on 44th and Lexington.
But I mean, it was safe, like your parents were...
Oh, yeah.
fine,
Back then, you basically wanted to find a car in the subway that no one was in so you could sleep, or something like that. Not going to school, coming back late at night because, after school, you had the activities, played basketball. If you went to play other schools, you had to travel we were in Manhattan, so we had to travel to the Bronx to play Mount St. Michael. And then
Were you in sports and stuff?
No, I was part of the basketball team, but I wasn't on team.
You were part of the basketball team?
Yeah, it was everyone was told.
I didn't want to say,
So I didn't play it. I just traveled with them, did all the crazy work, but it was great.
So when you graduated, did you have specific aspirations? What did you want to do? Did you always know you wanted to be in entertainment industry, or you had other things you were interested in?
I think I was always involved somehow. Even when I was in high school, I'd manage local bands, whatever you'd get booked at a church, whatever you did that time. I chose not to go to college, even though I went to a prep school, because it was the war years, a lot of crazy enough stuff going on. I just said, I don't want to go anything like that. So I didn't. I actually enrolled in a school, and the day I was supposed to show up, I just didn't go. So I didn't go to.
And you also drafted for the war.
No, they had a draft, and I got a deferment first, and then I wanted to give up the deferment because all my friends were going, so I put myself in the draft, and my number was very high, so I didn't get drafted.
We're speaking about the Vietnam War,
Vietnam
obviously.
War, yeah.
But how did you feel at the time? Like, did you feel scared? Did you feel like, I'll go if I have to, or...
Yeah, I wasn't going to enlist, but I wasn't really thinking about dying. My friends would write back letters, and, it was, rice paddies and snakes and jungle. That's what feared me. Really, I didn't think about, maybe I could die. I just didn't want to do that, from the letters I would get back from my friends that were there. But I didn't get drafted, so.
But everybody came back, or you had anybody?
I had a couple of people that I knew in my circle that didn't come back. No, my direct circle, but friends of friends in the neighborhood. Yeah, it was a difficult time then.
Yeah, and what did you do? You said you didn't go to college, so...
No, I started working, started doing local bands, and then I said I wanted to do a concert, so I ended up doing a concert with a friend of mine. It was like a business partner at the time, and so we did a concert. Before that, I was trying to get local bands. I can't play an instrument, I can't act, so things that I maybe in my head wanted to do, but I was smart enough not to try it. So I just managed people and tried to help them. That's how I did it. And then I got out of the music business because it's kind of like just wasn't interested anymore.
Well, why? What?
I don't know. It was kind of like heavy drugs at the time. Not drugs, but really was kind of like, got to think what the 70s were like. And I just said, I can't get involved. It was just something I didn't want to do.
And then you kind of started managing actors, right?
Not right away. I said, yeah, I want to manage actors. And I didn't know how to do it, didn't know what to do.
You thought they're not taking drugs,
Well, no, everybody's taking drugs, so wasn't the point, but
but have you ever done drugs? Were you?
everybody in America who said, you know, life, you just do it. I drink, but I don't drink anymore, really,
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
but it was just the culture at the time.
So you decided you want to move to managing actors.
Yeah, I don't know exactly why I decided that, but I did.
Yeah.
I had a few friends I knew that were actors, and I tried to get a job working for someone as an intern, but no one, I was old, I was 30, 31, and 32 or something, and nobody really wanted to. Why would a guy my age want to work for them? I think people were threatened by me because they were basically my age who were working there, and I just wanted to learn. So I had to learn by myself. Literally, I had no mentor. I never worked for someone. I was never an assistant. I just said, I want to do this.
Wow.
It was stupid, but I did it.
No, that's incredible. But I mean, like, look at your success. So it wasn't stupid. So I mean, obviously, at some point, everybody knows you by the fact that you managed Halle Berry, Oscar winner, an amazing talent, but also someone who had amazing milestones in her career. She's the first black actress to win the Best Actress Oscar and things like that. So I mean, obviously, her I would say is your biggest success. Would I be correct in saying so? That Halle Berry is your biggest.
Oh, she's the most successful in that worldwide notice, yeah. But when I was in business 7, 8 years before I met Halle. It wasn't like I just met Halle. I was in business in
So
New York.
what happened in those 7 years?
But people, daytime soap operas, commercials, that was a big thing in New York. And I didn't know anyone. I just kept hustling. And I used to go around to do these seminars in these cities that were like close to New York City. I'd fly to Pittsburgh or to Baltimore and to give these seminars so I could meet people, meet clients, because no one was coming to me.
What kind of seminars?
About a little bit about show business. I knew more than they knew.
Oh, you were giving
I was
seminars.
giving it, and I fly.
So fake it till you make it.
Not fake it as, yeah, but I knew more. They were getting knowledge from me because I knew more than they did.
Yeah.
Now, before the internet, now everybody knows everything all over. But I went to Pittsburgh. I just would look at the films and see who was casting in certain areas, and there was this woman out of Pittsburgh named Donna Belijack. She believes she still cast, but she was casting these films. So I called up one day and said, "Hey, can I come there?" And I'm a manager, and I get me some people there, and we'll talk about the business, show business in New York and California. Little
Yeah.
knowledge I had, but and that's what I did. And I went there, and I saw that and met some people there, and then afterwards, Donna said to me, one girl I wanted to meet, but she couldn't get here. But she's coming now. It was after it was over, and she said to me, "Oh, you going back now?" I said, "Yes." She goes, "I'll drive to the airport." Her name was Sandy Ferguson, and I said, "Oh, thanks." We started talking, and then one thing led to another. Talk, no texting and no cell phones. But I said to her one day, "Would you like to audition for shows?" And she said yes, and she ended up getting a daytime show. It's called Another World. Doesn't exist anymore. And from that, the reason I tell you that story is they were doing another show, and the casting director said they were looking for a black woman and a young girl. And I said, well, and urban didn't mean at that time hip hop. It just meant urban. She came from city or country. She was a country. And so she said, someone like Sandy, like a black. So I said, Sandy, a black woman like you? She goes, yeah, I was in a pageant with a girl named Halle Berry. And that's how it happened.
Wow.
And so basically, you make your own good luck. You have to be very lucky. And that's basically it. But if I had stayed in the basement doing nothing, then I wouldn't have taken this first step to go to do these seminars I gave.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I would have met Sandy, and then I would have met Halle. And there are certain people you meet in your life, change my life, change her life, and also change people with me because, you know, I met a lot of people that really were just getting in. Reuben Hudson, he was just a guy that came in, thought he was going to come to New York, and this great black actor he was going to know it. He had to go through the routines and go through the auditions, and he's very successful. He won a Tony, the show he's in, and he did a one-man show that I made into a movie, like Wannabes Blues for HBO.
And we'll talk about it in a minute also, and of course more about Halle. But I'm also very curious. Of course, it was during the time, as you said, when there were no cell phones, there were no texts, there was no computers that you can look things up. So how did those things happen? How did auditions happen? Because I'm sure for a lot of people, they cannot even imagine how it's like because everything is on the computer, on your phone. You even do self-tapes. These days, you don't even go into a casting office anymore.
Yeah, that's really, I hope that changes for the sake of the actor. Because, you meet in a room with somebody, you get energy on the tape, you're worried
But I
about
mean,
the quality.
some people will say, well, it's actually easier for me because I'm at home, I'm just relaxed, I can
Yeah, it's easy
perform
in certain
better.
ways, but a lot of people don't make good tapes. So we got to tell people they think it's good. Then you have to say, and it's like it's the way it has to be, I guess, because of the pandemic, really.
Yeah, of course.
And but there's nothing like going in the room. If you go in the room, you get an energy that you might not have on your tape. Or
True.
you make it. If you do the tape at home, the lighting might not be right. You might think it is, but compared to all the other stuff, so hopefully that'll
But in
change.
terms of like your work, not having all those devices that we're so used to, how was it? Like, what would you do? Were you on the phone all the time?
yeah,
Did you fly? How did you find out about
Jesus,
roles
Katia,
and
I'm
things?
telling you about it. I wasn't around when the Wright brothers did their plane, but I fly in a plane now. It was just
It just
different.
feels it's such a different
Yeah, it was a
industry.
different kind of hustle. But no matter how much it changes, no matter what the advances are in technology, it's still hustle and working hard.
But how did you do it at that time versus
Okay, well,
how is it
back
done
then there was
now?
a thing called breakdown, which still exists now. There was no cell phones. I had computers in my office. I still don't know how to work them, but for some reason, I'm one of the first people that had it, but no casting people had it. So that wasn't it. You get a breakdown
You said
delivered
they were sending it.
in
How were they?
paper there. Somebody would drop it off, like a messenger would drop it off.
But how did you You're a talent manager, right? Do you announce it somewhere? Do you just subscribe to
No, I
breakdowns?
just heard there was a breakdown. It was so new. We going back in the, 80s. It was new in New York. It was, so you just heard about it. So you call up and you would pay for it and you would get it. And they would drop it off at the doorman in the morning. I had a doorman in my building, and there was an old guy named Sam. He was great. He liked busting me. I said, I'm not going to bust me that early, but you'd go, you get it, and you have all your pictures, 8x10s, you put
Wow.
it, you have to submit it. You would, have messages taken around. Or in the beginning, I had the one I taken around. I had someone who worked for me, an assistant. She was great. This girl named Gemma. She really worked. I was exhausted. She was doing this.
So how, I'm imagining a casting director, the way they work now, they look at the picture, they see a tape most likely, at least some sort of like a little video, like a reel or something. So when they just have a picture, do they have to trust your sales pitch? And because I'm sure they're getting a lot of pictures. How do they know which actors to actually see and which ones
Well,
to?
they look at resumes. The problem is, my clients didn't have much resume because I'm starting people in the beginning, and I'm even the ones who've been around hadn't done much. I had some older clients, but so therefore you have to call up and you would hustle. That means so the same way you do anything else, any business. I don't care what you do, you have to do that. And then basically they give me a chance, and they would see one, and then they would see another, and then things just changed. They would see more of my clients. And this is all I started in New York. I didn't really come to LA like we talked about in '93. And that's what happened.
So it was about 7 to 8 years before you got introduced to Halle.
Before I met her, yes, I started like probably, I met her in '88 briefly because of the thing, but I didn't start working with her '89. So 6, 7 years, I guess, yeah.
And I mean, she was completely fresh.
Yeah, she had been a pageant woman. At that time, women of color didn't win pageants, so she was the runner-up to Miss USA, and I think that made her contestant. I don't really remember all that. I mean, because I wasn't working with her. But anyway, I met her because Sandy Ferguson recommended her because they had done pageants together. I think it was a teen All-American pageant, something like that. And that's how it was.
And when you met her, was it something where you can say, "Oh, I knew right away she'll be a star," or you didn't think like that?
Nobody knows that. Here's what it
I
did.
mean, not be a star. I guess what I mean is having that star quality, star factor.
She was different than a lot of people, and she lived in Chicago when I finally found her, so she had to put herself on tape, right? Big 3/4 tape, and she found friends, and she sent the monologues to us. And the guy who worked with me at the time said, "Well, she's really," but she popped. She just popped from. You put that on your little
Yeah.
video or screen, and she popped, and that was it. And I said, if you ever want to, you know, she called me, and then one thing leads to another. I don't know how to really explain that any more than that, but she popped. But it wasn't easy representing women of color back then. There was some great actors that didn't get the shot like they have now, and I think a lot of people now who work don't really realize how hard it was then.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they had a couple of
Even
shows.
in the beginning of the 90s, right?
Yeah, even then, you know, was difficult for people of color. It was just difficult.
And to put things in perspective, she won the Oscar in 2003, which is another 13 years later.
2002. I believe.
2002. And the first, so I think sometimes people get confused because she's the first actress, she's the first African-American actress to win the leads.
The best actress.
The best actress. There was a lady who won for supporting for Gone with the Wind.
Yes.
But that was a supporting
And there
role.
were other ones who I don't know the years, but there were other black actresses who won supporting actors back then. I just don't know what time frame. I think Whoopi Goldberg maybe had won. She won for support. I don't know what time frame. But there were others that just weren't up. The reason that was, in my opinion, they didn't get opportunities in movies that people saw. There were great actors at that time that names you.
You mean the roles they got?
They
the
didn't have the
scripts.
opportunities in the films that were made by the studios or the bigger films, so they couldn't show their talent. And then when they did some of those small movies, it wasn't exposed. But I think, in a sense, by the time Halle got the shot for Monsters Ball, which, by the way, they didn't want her, when she got the spot for Monsters Ball, she had already been in the business since, 90, and she's been around. She won an Emmy for Darcy Dandridge.
Which you produced.
We produced with Halle, and we put that together, and she won the Emmy for that. And so she'd been around.
And you were nominated for the Emmy for that as well, right?
The movie was nominated for Emmy. It was an HBO did the movie, but it just was difficult because they didn't have the opportunities to show the talent. It's still even difficult now, but if you don't have the opportunities, and you can't see these great actors.
Of course.
And a lot of people always say, this one should be nominated, that one should have been nominated. We all say that, but if you don't see the movies, and if you don't get the opportunities to be in the movies,
No, absolutely. I think it's, as you were saying, it's like there's a lot of luck because some people just get great parts that they can showcase, showcase
but
themselves.
you never know what they did to get there. Usually someone isn't overnight, and your luck, it's a lot of luck, but you got to be ready for your lucky break. So a lot of people weren't. Halle was.
Speaking of the lucky break, would you say the Jungle Fever for her kind of was that lucky break where people
you would
started?
think so. You would think so, but I had people who they thought they had seen the movie, but they thought she was one of the other girls. They didn't know she was the crack hoe. It was weird, and but her,
I read that you had to convince Spike Lee to cast her.
No, Spike didn't want to cast him for that. He wanted to cast him for one of the other roles, and I'm in the exact conversation, but it was just that because she looked the way she looked, people come from all over to end up in cities and become addicted to drugs.
You mean like she was too beautiful to play a crack addict?
You pictured crack addicts a certain way. What I'm saying is people come from all over, and when they get there, they're not looking like the way they look after they're on the drugs. let's be realistic. It's not like someone you can come from another. You come to New York City and you're coming there and you're just a person. You get down the wrong road. But Spike gave her a shot, and Sam Jackson, helped her out, and the rest is history. But that was, I don't have the exact year in front of me, but it was probably the early '90s,
Yeah.
and people could see something. But when she did Dorothy Dandridge, people started to know her more, and then you would say, look at, she did Dorothy Dandridge after she did Jungle Fever, and people say, oh, it's the same
So it's
person.
almost like a cumulative effect.
Yeah, when Monster Ball came available, here's what's interesting about that. A couple of years before they actually did the movie with the cast, some woman, can't think of her name, was really, because she sent me the script, and Simone, but she got the script to me and said, I think this would be great for Halle. And so Halle read it, and she liked it, but it disappeared. And at that time, I think Robert De Niro might have been attached. There was a lot of talk, but it disappeared. Then a couple of years later, I received a call from an agent who's the agent of the director, and said to me, would Halle ever do a low-budget movie? I said, the script's right. And I said, what script? She goes, Monster Ball. Scott, I know she likes it because she read it a year or two before. And so I knew she wanted to do it, and she was on her way, I don't know, going out of town on vacation or something at the time, but I knew she liked it. So I told her, she was excited. But then they didn't really want her, and I kept pushing in. Her agent kept saying, nobody, the reality, we can say the facts of what the situation is. I don't know behind the scenes what was happening, but I kept trying to get her in. The agent told me that that's a low-budget movie. Don't really, he didn't want to. And then I kept calling the producer's office, and I sent them a tape to show her. I had the guy where I lived, where I worked in Sunset Boulevard, had like one of those where you go get tapes made and things like that. And I got in the movies and made them go out and buy the movies and cut them up. It was probably VHS, probably wasn't even
wow,
CD.
of course.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was...
and this guy put it together, and I sent it, and then nothing really happened. So an agent from another agent from at that time, William Morris, I forget his name again because it's so long ago, he said, here's the director's number, call him up. So I called up Mark Forrester. I said who I was, and I said that, have you gotten the tapes? Because he only knew her of like the Revlon, or, just knew her as a pretty actress, so he didn't know anything really about her. But I kept sending the tapes that I put together, and he never saw it. So tell me where I can send it now. So I went back to my office, told the guys, put another tape together, Jungle Fever, to show the difference. And he saw it, and he said, wow, yeah, it's really up to Billy Bob. She has to. We met with her, Mark Lee Daniels, the producer. Halle and I went to meet, and they all thought she'd be cool, but it was up to Billy Bob, so she had to meet with Billy Bob, and everything sort of worked out. You have to keep pushing and know when not to push. And I kept thinking there was a little more, because the director would have been less. If I had spoken to him and he wouldn't have given us a shot, it wouldn't happen.
So tell me, if it happened to you now, would you push less?
No,
What I'm saying is, you know what I'm saying? Like at that point, everybody was telling you not to push, but something inside, you wanted like to push a little more, to try a little harder. It feels to me a lot of people with maybe more experience at that point would stop, and Halle would not have won the Oscar. You know what I mean? Like
she won it
it's all
because
those
she did a great performance.
Of course,
she wouldn't
100%,
have the opportunity,
but she needed the opportunity
Yeah.
to be in that movie. It's like all those little stepping stones that needed to be there. But I'm saying, sometimes when you have a lot of experience, you don't do things because you know, I shouldn't push too hard. Or maybe that's like.
But I hadn't been in business 20 years by then. So, I started in the 80s. Let's talk about 2000s.
That's true.
Right? So, you just have to know when there might be another inch to go. And
So you just felt it.
I knew the inch was to get to direct. If he had just said, shut me down, where I've gone, the producers weren't. They weren't going to see her. They wanted to, what I was told, again, they wanted to discover somebody new. And I'm not going to name the actresses, but they told me the name of the actress, who's Halle's age now, and they didn't really want her in it. It was, again, I don't know what happened there, so I know what I was told and what I had to do, because there's a lot of revisionist history about that. but I just felt it, you know, and because she was my job, she liked the project. Again, before this became this, when she first read it, she liked it. She wanted to do it, and it was my job to take as much as I could. You know, couldn't go, and I had help. Remember, the agent from another agency gave me a number of the director. This woman Simone originally gave me the script, which again was before the one the script we actually saw. Was different people attached. So everything is like that in life. You don't know, and you know, you just have to keep going. But sometimes it's just not gonna work. I mean, at that time, Halle, there were opportunities that they wouldn't give her because they didn't really want to, and didn't want to give it to her for a lot of reasons. But you know, it's not. Again, it's a different time. We sit here and we talk. You know, you can do TikTok and become famous. None of that stuff was existent. But the same thing. Even the TikTok people that are famous work hard. They're famous because they do something different everyone else is doing.
Right.
They don't just copy what someone else is doing.
Well, and in general, just doing as well, because a lot of them shot thousands of TikToks that did not, you know,
but they kept doing the thing,
exactly,
and then you have to get that, whatever it is. But everybody works. You know, it's like might not be work for somebody else, but they work. So it's even like at the Oscars. You know, the people that were there, and it's just that people work, and everyone gets opportunities. Maybe they don't get the opportunities to have their movie seen by the right people. It's just, you know, like in TV, you could be on a show that has less viewership compared to some procedural on one of the networks, but the right eyes are looking at it. It's a hot show, so people in the industry look at it and they know who it is. Right. And I think that actually happened with Empire. A lot of people heard about it, they wanted to see it. You know, nobody knew it was going to work. Everybody had believed in it, and I think that gave a great break to the opportunities. And Taraji been around, and
who you also managed for many years.
That time, you know, so the thing is that you have to keep pushing, and you know when you can't push anymore. You shouldn't. You know, sometimes it's going to be a no. You have to accept it at the right time. You can't just, oh yeah, I never accept no. At times you got to know this isn't going to work. You got to know the situation of what they're looking for on the other end, really. But you just keep pushing.
I know that you know for sure that in Hollywood, in the industry, they call you the gatekeeper for African American talent. Why?
That's ridiculous. That's the most stupidest thing, gatekeeper. Make it seem like it work. The thing was I work at, all my clients were African American, but I worked with them, so the most successful one was Halle, right? Other ones worked. People I had, Jodie O'Keefe, you know, Julie Benz. There was a woman, white woman, but because I was most successful at the time with women of color that were not getting the opportunities. But people have talent. It's just, you can't, it's hard to look at. It's like people who now, they don't realize what happened. There's no sense of history. Like I said to somebody once, you know, The Godfather, I didn't see that, it was so long ago. I saw Casablanca. I wasn't born in 1939. I wasn't living. I mean, you know, people just, it's weird. But it's, you know, gatekeeper's a stupid term. No one's a gatekeeper. Everybody works hard. And everybody, one thing about this industry, people work hard, and some people don't get lucky and don't get the big break.
Well, you say in relation to you, that's, you know...
But it's not true, it's a stupid
It's
term.
not true, it's stupid. But, I mean, obviously such things do exist because we know the famous...
No, it doesn't exist. The thing is...
Wait a second, but what about Harvey Weinstein? Everybody was saying, well, yes, he could basically, you know, axe someone's career. I mean, was it actually, is it true that...
No, I don't know about anyone else. All I know is everyone has an opportunity. And if they get the chance and they're ready for it, they'll break. I don't know anything about anyone else. I don't know about whatever it is. It's just a matter of no one person controls the industry. It was much stricter back in the 30s and the 40s when you had 3 or 4 studios. You have more people in control. Someone might not want to work with you. That's okay. But there are a lot of other opportunities. Back in the, you know, before TV, you had just a few studios. Those men had enormous power. It's not there aren't people in position of power. Of course there are. But they're running their own companies and they're not worrying about, I'm never going to make that one not work again. You know, it's, so that's all I know.
What's up, you guys? So while Katia and Vincent are having an amazing conversation, I wanted to show you how to make an amazing cup of pour-over. Two interesting things. Number one, everybody thinks that pour-over is very complicated to make, and I'm going to show you that this is not the case. You just need amazing beans, a good grinder, and a scale. Number two, what type of personality usually drinks pour-over? When someone walks into Enigma Coffee and orders a pour-over, we know right away most likely they're not going to get any milk or sugar in it. They really want to sit for 15-20 minutes and taste that coffee, the flavor, the fruit notes, the taste notes. It's very different, for example, than a personality of someone who orders espresso, because someone who orders espresso wants to drink the drink fast. They also want to taste just the coffee taste, but they want to tackle the day real quick. Wake up early and then just go. Someone who drinks a pour-over, usually the type of personality is someone who is more present, more aware. They're going to let the creative ideas come to them. Now, let me show you how to make an amazing cup of pour-over. Let's go. What you need is a gram scale, and you need good beans. I'm going to use the Secret Temple Ethiopia that have milk chocolate, cherry, and blueberry. Smells really good too. So what we do for pour-over and what we recommend for the Secret Temple is a ratio of 1 to 17, which is 1 being coffee, 17 being water. So if we have 400 grams, which is a 12-ounce cup of coffee, we're going to use 25 grams of beans, which is what I earlier scaled and grinded. So what we're going to do, there are reusable pour-over filters, and there's paper ones that are for one-time use only, and that's the one I'm going to use today. So I'm going to pour my beans, grind into the filter. Then I have my filtered water already boiled. We're going to start with filling out everything with water until all this first kind of batch of beans is saturated with water. It's going to be roughly at about 150 grams, and then I'm going to stop for a second. So here we go. Make sure all the beans are saturated, 150 grams. And I'm going to let it simmer all the way through, because I want to really that first stream of water to grab all that flavor from the beans. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to start pulsating it a little. 3 seconds pour, 3 second break. 3 second pour, 3 second break. It doesn't have to be precise, but we want to be something around that. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. Then the last part, we're going to fill it out all the way. First we're going to let it simmer through again, just a little bit. Then we're going to fill it out all the way until we reach 400 grams, which is our 12-ounce cup. And then we're just going to wait for all of that to simmer through. We're going to have a fresh, delicious cup of pour-over. So why do we recommend using single origins for pour-over and drip coffee as opposed to blends for espresso? Espresso is like a magnifying glass of flavor. What does it mean? It means that the water is pushing through with very high pressure through the grind. The grind of espresso is very fine, so it's very hard for the water to actually go through. So it must use pressure to push through the grinds. Because of that, it magnifies the flavor a lot. So when you taste an espresso, you would taste the dominant flavor. For a pour-over, the grinds are way coarser and the water does not need to be pressurized through the grinds. So it will collect gently that one dominant flavor among all the other sub-flavors that the beans might have, and then you can get to enjoy it for longer and in a smoother way. So that's the reason we use single origin for drip and pour-over and blends for espresso. We're almost done here. All right, you guys, the pour-over is ready. Now the best part and my favorite part, the taste. Wow. I needed that. All right, Vincent and Katia, back to you.
So we spoke about the fact that you are a talent manager and you're also a producer, right? You've produced several movies. You've been nominated for an Emmy. Halle Berry won an Emmy for the movie that you produced with her. Which one do you like better? Do you have a preference between managing talent and producing?
I'm not really a producer in the sense where I get a lot of projects. I produced all the things I did had attachment to a client I was working, trying to make something happen for the client. In like Wannabes, Ruben Santiago Hudson was my client. He did the one-man show. I really wanted to get that movie made, so I worked with Halle, got the movie made. So everything had an attachment. Frankie and Alice, which did for Halle, I really wanted to get it made. And at that time, in the 2008, 2009, when that recession happened, people weren't making those art house movies. But I fought and I fought, and I actually found someone to put money up and made the movie. And so I think that's one of her great performances. People didn't see it a lot, I guess, but it's a really good. So everything I had to work for, based on the client, even just try to get things happening. That's just no other way. But I'm not a producer. I'm not going to get 10 projects. I've never tried to get them at different studios so I can get development fees. That's not what I do. I'm not that. I just did things that were directly related to a client or things that I believed in, and I tried to make them happen. Not all of them happen, but you keep pushing on. But I produce certain things, but I wouldn't say like I'm a producer just getting projects.
For anybody who wants to become a talent manager, what would you say are 5 pros and cons of being one?
Well, it's like it's like any business. You start a coffee. Did you grow up in the coffee business?
No.
Did your family do the coffee business?
No.
You just did it.
I knew
But
nothing about coffee
you
when
and
I got
Yoni,
into coffee.
you didn't know anything about escape room. You did it.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. You just do it. There's no like formula. You just have to work hard.
But what would you say are advantages and disadvantages of being a talent manager? What are the cool things versus like not so?
Again, it's you. If you're successful in anything, you're advantaged because you have something because you're successful, and it's hard. It's hard because you have to get the right talent. There are people who work harder than me that had more skills than I did that maybe were in the right place at the right time to take someone to get them to become international, and it's just a lot of luck. Everyone works. There's this thing that people don't work. I mean, you don't become the head of something without really working.
But it also feels that you have a lot of passion. And like, I don't know many talent managers who would actually become producers just to make sure their clients is getting more opportunities and getting good projects. You know what I mean? Like, that's an extra passion.
You have to believe in it. I mean, like I believed in when Ruben did his one-man show with Lackawanna Blues. I've been working with him as a client, and he says to me, I'm going to write a one-man show about my life. I said, oh, okay. Really, I said, okay. And then he calls up one day and says, I'm going to come out to L.A. I want to read it to you. Can you get some people and we'll get together and I could read it in front of an audience? And he did. And he came and he did this. It must have been 7 to 10 of us. And he did this. We did like 35 characters. I don't know, 32, 35. But he did all these characters. And everybody's like saying, mesmerized. This is before he actually did it at the Public Theater in New York City. And then from that, we tried to make a movie of it. And then he recently got it to Broadway.
Wow.
He did like Wannabes on Broadway, which was his long-term goal. But, I saw something, I believed in it, it happens. And sometimes you believe in something, it doesn't happen. But you have to know when it's time to move on from yourself. There's no formula except believing and working hard. Again, the same way you guys got in the coffee business. Your family wasn't in it. You didn't know about it. You didn't know about escape room. So you did it. You have to believe in passion. You knew you could do it. You got interested in it, right?
I think that's the best advice one can give anybody.
Passion. It's like but only you know when it's time to quit.
In terms of that, like, do you think it's better, just on more practical terms, as a talent manager, is it better to have a bigger roster, or is it better to have more people, or is it better to have smaller group of actors that you can really kind of like laser focus your attention?
I think the thing is, it's my other company. When I had my company, I had sometimes at one time 10 employees. It was too much. I think you have to. But remember, when you're working with small in the beginning, no one's famous, so not making money. So you have to somehow figure out how to pay the bills. But it's better if you just concentrate on a few people. So it's still, you have to find those people like that you believe in, but they're not going to make money right away. If someone gets a small job and they not working and they make $2,000 for the week, that's great. I make $200. You know, so basically, you have to know what you could handle and how much of the bullshit you could take. And that's it. But you have to be sincere what you want to do. I found a lot of people that I met, actors, actually, they weren't sincere. They wanted to be famous. They wanted to be this. They weren't. They didn't take classes. You know.
Well, I think it's a lot of that in the city. Like, I mean, I don't know the percentages, but I would say more people want to just be famous than they actually have such a huge passion for acting.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think that's why the industry is so oversaturated, and in a way, it kind of it hurts people who are really talented because you have all
but, you know,
this.
you can't read someone's mind about their motivation. You know, it's that everybody comes for a dream and they go for it. Some people go for it the right way. Some people go for it the wrong way. And some people just don't meet the right people. You know, if you just don't meet the right people, it's like, it's,
But I mean, how can you can you actively do something to meet the right people? You know
No,
what I mean?
because
Like,
how do
because
you-
actors always come and they're like, well, let me do something. I have the passion. Just tell me what can I do? Like, you know, give me that pill.
But that has to be your main plan. Everybody wants to do 5 or 10 things. You have to do it, and there can't be a plan B. Once you put a plan B in, you're not thinking of plan A. Now, it's very possible plan A doesn't work out. Only you know when it's time to get out of it. But it's like anything, you have to keep pushing, and you can't think about the negative result if
But
it's
when
not
you're
going to
saying
happen.
keep pushing, like let's say an inspiring actor is watching us right now, and he thinks or she thinks, okay, I'm ready. I wanna push. Tell me what should I do? What should they
Well,
do?
it's different in every case. You can do the old basic one. You used to be able to drop pictures off a casting director. You can't do that, but you just do that, or you do showcases. You take good classes. And there's no real formula except hard work, and it changes daily. I mean, if you go and do a TikTok video and a lot of people see it, but you might not get a representative for it. Then again, you might. So
Right.
it's whatever you're doing, but you have to know, you have to believe in what you do, and not pull back. And when you're in business, a lot of times you want to pull back, and when you start and things don't come your way, you work hard. Not everyone. People work hard and don't get as lucky. But if you're in the business for a lot of years, no matter what's big your company, if you're working 30, 40 years in business, you've done something right. You're working hard, maybe you didn't have the luck to get something. Like a new kid out of a school goes and works for a big agency. He's going to have all the exposure to those people. He didn't have to build it. He's not the founders. He didn't have to work on the card table, what the fuck they worked on back then. It's different people, but it doesn't make it any less valuable that they took a company that was doing it and they grew it. There's a lot of people I have respect for that just built these companies that would be really impossible. I remember when I came to LA first, before I even lived here, I remember an attorney said to me, I said, I want to maybe manage and do this, produce. Oh, you could never do that. You'd be lucky if everything that lady said to us was right, to me and my partner at the time. Oh, you're never going to find someone like that. All the odds were against me. It's, let's face it, they're against everything. They're against you being successful. Businesses fail.
Yeah.
But you keep doing it. Only you know when it's time not to do it.
You know, there's not funny, but actually a very inspiring story about when you said about companies and how they come into existence. So I was interviewing Ron Meyer, who is the longest running head of Universal Studios, and he was saying that he actually started as a driver for a William Morris agent and kind of like climbed through that, and then they founded CAA.
Yeah, worked on card tables, and the wives worked for.
Exactly.
But they believed in the
now
hustle.
CAA is such a huge agency, and you think, oh my God, it was always there. No, it was founded by those people who started from literally nothing.
But everything starts this way. Now, sometimes you start and you have a break. You know somebody, but you got to start from the beginning, no matter what you do. And some people's talents. That's why you could start something, build it, and then someone else has to take it over because But it's hard work. I don't care what you're doing.
But tell me, everybody talks about hard work, but then what do you think about nepotism? You know, because obviously it exists in Hollywood. You take Ed Hudson, you
Yeah,
take
yeah, yeah.
Maya
Let's
Hawke,
not
you
go through the
take
name.
Lily.
You're right.
But even, I'm just naming for
Right.
people to know. You know, Lily Rose Depp, and you know a bunch of Dakota Johnson, a bunch of other, and some of them are really exceptional talent, great actresses or actors. But one wonders how, you know, what.
The hardest thing to do is meet people. They get a leg up, but they have to produce and stay there. You don't stay in the business all those years if you don't meet someone. And it's a big step. They have a relative, so, you know, yeah, the age it takes. That's true, but if they didn't have the talent, they're not going to be there for very long. You have to
So they
sustain it.
still have an advantage.
They have an advantage, but not everyone. All you hear about is the ones who are successful. A lot of other people have sons and daughters who didn't get anywhere, who didn't. So they have an advantage. Anytime you can meet someone, have an advantage. You know, if someone sends an actor to me, they knew me. It's an advantage. I'm not the head of a studio. I'm not. But so everything is that. But the nepotism is there, and I think that they get beat up. It's just another thing for people to tear people down. Yeah, it is. It is a lot easier to get your first introduction because your family is successful. But that doesn't mean you're going to be successful. You have to sustain. But no, so I don't think about it. I notice so much about it now. It's just another thing to divide people. It's like, you know, you didn't talk about that. You knew about it, but you didn't talk about it. Now there's just another thing to divide people. But you don't stay around for all those years if you don't have some kind of talent. All right? And you could have someone else. There are people who have talent who never get the opportunities, who maybe went to great schools and other people in Juilliard or Yale Drama School, and they didn't all become successful. Maybe they didn't have the right situation. Maybe they didn't push as hard. You know, I don't know. But I just think it's to like right now, it's just picking on people. And it's not fair because we always knew it's there. It's just another thing to divide people.
But what about, like you said before, like you have to really push hard and keep going. Is there a moment when someone has to stop and say, okay, maybe I've tried my best and I have to move on. That's just not for me? Because there are a lot of people who try and try and try. 20 years pass, they're nowhere, and they get completely broken down and, you know, a shell of themselves. You know, we see them on the streets of LA all the time, talking to themselves, and you know what I mean, like on drugs and just. No, but I'm saying you can sometimes you can tell. You see those like beautiful guys that are in their 30s, but they look like they're 55.
Katia,
you know,
no one knows what the mental situation is. No one knows what's going on. But you have to know when you can't do it any longer. Then you hear the stories of people worked hard, they were going to give it up, and the next day they got a break. Those things happen. But only you know when it's time to quit. Whatever it is, financially, you have a family, or you're just tired of rejection. But each person has that. There's no rule for it. There's no, you know, so it's kind of sad. But I commend people. Some people just want to work in theater. They work in theater their whole life, and they became famous and made a living. That's what they love doing. Maybe they made it to Broadway, maybe they didn't. But they're still working. That's how only they know when they want to quit. You know, it's a different ball game for everyone else, and you can't think like that because you don't know why. I see that guy in the streets homeless. There by the grace of God, it's not me, but the bottom line is you don't know what happened with that person,
right,
where they went out, you know. So I think that you only have to make a decision when you know for you it's time to move on. And no one can make that decision for you. I mean, if you have family, you could talk about it. Basically, you know that your spirit doesn't want to do that. Whatever business it is, you know, like they say, a lot of first-time business fail right away, right? Maybe they couldn't fail financially. Maybe they didn't have it anymore. Maybe they just didn't get lucky.
no, you're absolutely right. Like
It's the same thing with actors.
Yeah. In business, it's the same thing. You're absolutely right. A lot of people fail because they stop and say, I can't take this anymore. But if you push, that's probably where success is. It's this, and not everybody can or wants or, you know, have the opportunity to do that. That's.
Yeah, you have to have the opportunity. You have to, you know, if you have a family, you got to feed your family. But the point is, the original question is, when do you know? You don't know. Only you know when it's time. I can't tell you when it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know I worked hard. I know I got lucky. I know I made some of my own luck. If I had never started going around to talk in those places, I would have never met Pittsburgh. I would have never met, you know, Sandy Ferguson. I would have never met Halle Berry. I mean, things like that you worked. But I didn't know by doing that. I was hoping something would come of it, and sometimes come years later.
But like, let's say you have number of people, your talent. Is there a time where you say, okay, this actor or this actress, I just have to give them up because, I'm done. I can't do anything else for them. Or you fight till...
No. Sometimes I can't help. Like right now, it's really kind of sketchy because business has been so slow. There's some people I try to work with. I don't know if I can help them because maybe they didn't sustain the downtime good. I don't know. I can't make. I'm just hustling the same way I hustled, 40 years ago. I worked out of my bedroom in an apartment on 8th Avenue, and now I work out of a room in my house that's worth a lot more than that apartment.
Very beautiful house, by the way.
But the point is, I'm still, it's the same thing. I have more knowledge and I have a lot of stuff like that, but it's the same. You just have to work hard and not know. And I don't tell anyone it's their time to quit. I just know if I can't help them, I might say, I can't do anything. What I do suggest is don't always complain to your representatives. Oh, no, what's going on? Not going on. It's slow. Yeah, it's slow. The idea is to make money with you. You're not paying me. You know what I'm saying? The idea is to make money with you. And it's harder because the business has just a curve now. It's different.
So shifting gears, let's talk about, I remember there was even a headline, from humble beginnings of Brooklyn to the Queen's Box and the Albert Hall. Of course, referring to Halle Berry being in James Bond, Die Another Day.
Yeah, it was from Ebbets Field, which I actually went to, which is a baseball stadium in Brooklyn. And yeah, so it was Halle was in the Bond movie, and I was her guest when they had the screening over there with the Queen. So we sat in the box, which was kind of interesting because it was kind of what you can't do this, you can't do that, and you can't leave to go to the restroom. But I kept thinking, oh God, it was.
What if you have to?
Yeah, so I kept thinking. So you're thinking, and I was sitting behind, I guess, Prince Philip. He really enjoyed the movie. He was laughing. He really a lot of energy. But that was fun. But
Prince Philip, you said.
Was that
Prince Philip?
Right?
Yeah.
The Queen's
husband. Yeah, late.
Yeah, and he was enjoying it. I mean, she must have had earphones in because it's like it was loud, and so that was it. But the movie was a good thing for Halle, and I can remember when after she shot the movie, they were having a screening in they had a press conference, and everybody wanted to talk to Halle because she was up and coming. This is before Monsters Ball, and I remember one of the guys at MGM said money. In other words, they were going to do press. She was going to be, her value was going to be people around the world wanted to talk to her. So a lot of press. Besides the Bond thing was an extension of that. But it was fun. It was great.
Was it something that she was offered, or you guys?
At first, after they didn't have to audition, but they, like I said, it was a small part. The agent, they wanted this actress. I wouldn't say who it was, but it's a very small part. And then I spoke to the casting person, and I said, Halle might be interested if it was a bigger part. And she relayed that to the director, and the director said, yeah. The director said, we'll make the part be bigger, and that's what it ended up being.
I wanted to ask you, so of course, you've just mentioned Monsters Ball again. So in 2002, Halle won the Best Oscar for Monsters Ball. Did her life change after that win? And did your life change after?
Well, I mean, she became...
You know how they say there is life before Oscar and after?
But of course, her life changed in the sense of, she still didn't get as much opportunities as, say, if she won 2023, 2024, or 2022 even. But she got opportunities, not as many as she would have gotten had she been not a woman of color. And I don't want to talk about other women who got more opportunities because it's not about them getting it. That's how it was. They're good people, and so it's, I hate comparing. But she didn't get as many opportunities as some of the other women but she got some good opportunities. She, not what it should have been, but it's what it is, and it's history.
And what about you?
Well, I changed my life because I had someone who was actually, won an Oscar in the first stuff, so a lot of press with that. And it was,
And what
it
about
was
people in the industry? Did you get a different
no,
treatment all of a
I
sudden,
think
or?
people for the most part always, you know, treated me okay. And Halle, they sort of appreciated when I would sit down with them and tell them my journey. People appreciate it. But I'll tell you what's funny, when Halle first got noticed, she actually did a movie called Strictly Business. And though the movie didn't do well, they had these posters all around the country trying to put it out. But at that time, a lot of movies with predominantly black cast were like, New Jack City was different. It wasn't like a romantic comedy. But they Warner Bros. Really put posters all over commercials. So everybody saw this pretty girl pop up, I would get calls from agents, and I never forget, a couple people say, "Oh, you come out to LA, we sit by the pool, read scripts." Yeah, the only pool I ever sat by was my pool and read scripts. Never, once you got there, all that stuff was, and then, you end up, it was just funny. But I met a lot of good people, some people that, I don't know, it's just that people who became powerful, it's they're different. They're different only because their world is different, and it's understandable. But I knew a lot of them when they weren't in the position. If you're going back all those years, and people were basically nice to me. The agents were nice. The various casting people, producers that I met basically nice people.
And the industry itself, when you started, and the industry now, what are the main difference, would you say? Apart from the computers and text
everything.
messages.
Everything. They still have to work hard, and they still have to hustle, and they still have to fight. But I'll tell you one thing. I'm not going to say either name of this person, but doing Gothic, I believe, was in Montreal, and I was talking to this one agent, and he's complaining about this other agent because the other agent was trying to steal his client, but yet he was trying to steal Halle. It was comical to me saying, I got off the phone, I said, wow, it was like, he's complaining because so-and-so was trying to steal another client of his, and then he was basically trying to steal, but it was like, just how it is. It's, people have to, I
So
don't
that
know.
happens, huh?
It
Like
happens
people
everything.
trying to steal each other clients?
Not poach people, but not as much as you think. Some people, it's, some people just, that's what they do. They don't really build people.
Is it really like cutthroat, as they
Well,
say?
everything's cutthroat. I mean, the bottom line is it was more cutthroat on the streets of Brooklyn than where I grew up was a little different. But it's people are people, and in show business, you got to always remember you represent the client. Every time that I went with Halle and she was on the private jet, it wasn't for me. It was because I was her guest. I never let it go to my head. I didn't like, oh, I want a private jet. Not my. They weren't there for me. They didn't give a shit about me. She would had me, and I think a lot of people in this business think it's them, not the client, that makes them. It's the client. Everybody wants the client, and that's why you get the extras, for lack of anything else. But I'm not going to complain. I worked hard. I was fortunate. Did some stupid shit in my life, like we all do. But you live and you learn. So that's all you got to do. You have to just move on. But every business changes. Every climate changes.
What's the biggest, most common mistake you say the wannabes make when they come to Hollywood?
Honestly, everybody thinks they want to go to parties, meet people, and they have nothing to show. How to go to a party? Go here. It's like, you're going to ask about. It's like, what are you going to do at a party if you have nothing to show? Then you just become there as, a piece of furniture. You have to, if you had just done something, you have someone say, what do you do? I'm an actress. Okay.
Like everybody else.
Like everybody else, right? So I think people always think about that. You got to network. Network's good, but you have to network when you have something to network about, or you just become another spoke in the wheel.
Was there a moment in your life in this industry where you felt, oh, I'm successful? Like, was there any specific time when you said, okay, I made it?
No.
Like, no.
I think my security. No, I looked back and said, yeah, I must have done something right because I started a business and I kept going and I did things. But I don't think it's like that. When Halle won the Oscar, that second, that evening, I was really happy for her that she worked, knowing how hard she worked for everything, and she finally got something. That was exciting. I said I got up before her. I think I was reading Russell Crowe's mouth. I don't know. I just felt it. I can remember just like
I actually saw that footage. It was adorable.
that.
It was you. I felt how much
I
you
swear to
were,
God, I think
how happy you were for her.
I think I before he mentioned name, but it's just what it is. You have to keep going on, and you keep pushing and pushing, and it's difficult, and that's why I say I recommend no one does it. But they shouldn't listen to me. They should do what they want to do, and
I agree.
hopefully they become successful. I heard this jerk who did a podcast, and he said I shouldn't do it. But fuck him, I did it. Whatever. But
What would you say is your greatest achievement?
surviving. I mean, surviving the business, making a living. It's no one thing.
If you had to pick one of your character traits that you can attribute to your success to, what would it be? If you had to pick just one.
Stupidity.
That's a great advice. Everybody, I can do that.
I think. Listen, we're all flawed. I'm a very flawed human being. I call my new company Good Shepherd because that was the grammar school I went to.
I love the name.
It was my grammar school I went to. I was baptized in that, and my production company was called that before, so I was a Good Shepherd manager. Because basically I might have did stupid things in my life, but I was a good shepherd for people I represent. I gave them good representative, whether it was me or I hired good employees who helped them. But it was me, so I felt that I did that. I'm flawed as everybody is, but I think I pushed hard for the people. I think I worked for them. I had employees who helped them. It was all mine. You take me out of the equation, a lot of these employees wouldn't have met those people, wouldn't have been able to work with them. But they did.
Last question. If there is a recipe for success, what's your recipe? What are the ingredients? As many as you want. 3, 1, 2, 5 that you would put in that.
Just one. Perseverance. Perseverance. Believe in something and go after it. Don't give up. Don't listen to other people. But don't be a fool yourself. There comes a time when you just might realize it doesn't work. Just going for it. That's probably the only, working hard, and the money will follow. If you chase the money, you might not get the stuff. The money's going to follow if you do the things right with any business you're in. In a business like show business, you can get lucky where you have someone who makes a lot of money, and then you're chasing that, but you can't always get that again.
Right.
You just want to work hard and just go after what your dream is, whatever it is, and know, only you know when the time to stop.
An amazing conversation you two had. I always love to work with people who are completely zoned into the project, and they kind of remove themselves from the importance. What's important is the project. When it comes to work, ego disappears completely. Mm-hmm. Vincent disappears completely, and he's fully immersed into investing any type of passion, love, and hard work into whatever his project. And since his project is managing talents, people, so it's all about them. And that's why money came to him later. He wasn't thinking about money. He was thinking about just making great things.
It's actually, I picked up on that when he said, you should not be chasing the money. Money will come. It actually comes from a lot of deep understanding, because people who say that, they really know, because it's so true. When he was talking about it, I actually remembered watching that acceptance speech when Halle won the Oscar. And he's right behind her. You can actually see it. If you YouTube it.
I watched that.
Yeah.
I saw it.
I mean, first of all, it was an amazing speech by her, very, very emotional. But you can see him, and he was literally so happy like a kid. It was so amazing to see, just in that moment. And when you rewatch it, you understand exactly what he's saying. It's shown right there in that video.
I think what I really enjoyed about Vincent Energy, and it's not just from what he said, it's hanging out with him behind the scenes and everything. He really has that energy. When he talks to you, he's completely immersed in your conversation, not in his thoughts. I remember when he invited us to his home, and he was showing us, he has an amazing home with an amazing pool, and his pool changes colors, but he was demonstrating to me after a long dinner all the color grade of the pool.
Yeah.
And when he was pointing, he went color by color and was pressing the button, looking at the pool, and I was amazed by his meditative state in general. It's not something you can fake. You're really immersed in the present moment with everything he does.
The excitement of life. You know, sometimes you have to hear things for yourself, you know? Two things I heard from him. One, when he said, yeah, you kind of, you know, the gist of what he was saying was you have to go easy on yourself. You know, you're making mistakes, you did this, you did that. But he had that lightness, that flexibility of being, you know, which I picked up and, you know, kind of noted for myself because it's such an important way of being. And you're right, it kind of goes with immersing yourself into something. And then if that goes, just letting it go, moving to something else, just having that flexibility, childlike. And the second thing that really, I guess I needed to hear probably, when he spoke about only you know when to stop. With anything in life, nobody else can tell you. You cannot listen to anybody's advice. It's inside of you.
You hear that? This message is for you. If it helps you, then we did our job here, right? Guys, thank you so much for watching Enigma of Success. I hope Vincent's conversation with Katia inspired you. And if you have any questions, you can please comment in the video and we will be glad to answer, or reach us at the Instagram page, right? Enigma of Success.
Enigma of Success.
Thank you so much. Till next time.
Thank you, guys.